need to understand what data they're accessing, when, what privileges they have, how we revoke those privileges, what is the intent of an agent when it accesses a certain system. These attacks are happening way faster than they ever have before.
This episode, we have Gideon Hayden, co-founder and managing partner at Leaders Fund.
I started the fund with two other co-founders about 10 years ago. We all started companies, scaled them. Between us, there's 7 exits. Some of those were IPOs. We set out to go and build Leaders Fund. Really in the image of those relationships we valued most as entrepreneurs. You said the word agent 12 months ago. I'm not sure anyone really understood what that meant. In the last 6 months, we've seen an incredible jump in capability of what the frontier labs are releasing and what these models are capable of. Every week there's a new release of a new product or a new model or whatever, and the world changes again. Now AI is actually doing the work for us. With every new technological shift, there is a new cybersecurity platform that emerges. And this next shift is AI, for sure.
Welcome to the mini-series of the Hubscale Podcast, the RSA mini-series, where we're shining a light on the VCs and the vendors who are making moves this week at RSA 2026. This episode, we have Gideon Hayden, co-founder and managing partner at Leaders Fund. Pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
And Gideon, just for some of the audience who may not know who Leaders Fund are or who yourself are, I would love to have a bit of an introduction.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here and really excited to be at RSA. It's an exciting week. So I'm one of the co-founders and managing partners of Leaders Fund. I started the fund with two other co-founders about 10 years ago. And what the three of us have in common is prior to being VCs, we were all operators. We all started companies, scaled them. Between us, there's 7 exits. Some of those were IPOs, some of those were strategic. And through those experiences, we had some amazing experience with the VCs and some that were not. And we set out to go and build Leaders Fund to really in the image of those relationships and that we valued most as entrepreneurs. So we started the fund. We're a $300 million fund. We're investing seed through Series B in enterprise software, and we have a focus in cybersecurity, obviously.
One of the reasons why I wanted to sit down with you specifically, as I mentioned, was the core focus of this is VCs and vendors who have been making moves, and we've seen a lot of the success of some of the portfolio companies and the recent raise of like Oasis, for example, and how Upwind is continuing to grow and scale. So yeah, pleasure to have you on. Just, I guess, to start things off really, looking through RSA this year, 2026, what are the key trends and themes that you're seeing from a VC's perspective?
Yeah. Well, surprise, it's you walk through the floor and every single booth has 2 letters on the booth that in common, right? It's AI and security, but I think for good reason, right? I think in the last 6 months we've seen an incredible jump in capability of what the frontier labs are releasing, what these models are capable of. And CISOs today are feeling incredible pressure from the enterprise and from executive level pressure to enable adoption of AI. And I think this year is the year of agents, right? And how do we enable these like persistent, ephemeral workloads, ephemeral running tasks to have access to our data and do so in a secure way. And go and do work on behalf of your workforce, right? And so I think there's this incredible pressure on CISOs right now to have an answer to our employees want to deploy agents, and we still need to do this in a way that's secure, right? So I think that's a big theme, and I think that spans a lot of different categories in security. Obviously, we just made the investment in Oasis. For us, that was a bet on non-human identities and access for agents, right? As we adopt these agents, they are going to have their own identities. We need to understand what data they're accessing, when, what privileges they have, how we revoke those privileges, what is the intent of an agent when it accesses a certain system, right? But that's also, the thesis with Upwind a couple of years back was really all about the speed with which these attacks are happening is increasing, right? And I think that's like 10x with the advent of AI. And so what that means is that runtime is just that much more important. You have to move from a static scan of your environment to really understanding what's happening in runtime, because these attacks are happening way faster than they ever have before. So definitely the main theme is all around like, how is AI going to create new categories in cybersecurity, and how is it impacting old ones? And I think that's certainly been a focus of ours with Oasis and Upwind and more. So
yeah. And do you think that talk track has changed much since 2025? Because obviously AI was the hot topic a year ago, wasn't it? I think I was seeing a lot more agentic AI, whereas I think a lot of companies are pivoting away from that talk track because there was just so much noise around it. But how have you seen like the maturity of specifically AI and security over the last 12 months change?
Well, I think if you said the word agent 12 months ago, I'm not sure anyone really understood what that meant. I think that's come into far more focus now with honestly with OpenClaw and everything that's happened there and that innovation, and with Cloud Code and Codex and these code generation models, where they're now pretty capable of doing everyday enterprise tasks that knowledge workers have, right? And so whereas a year ago, I don't think that was that clear, or that promise couldn't be fulfilled. Today it can. And so I think that's really what's changed. It's that these models are now actually capable of taking a task or taking work from knowledge workers and going and doing that work for them in a manner that is satisfactory to that worker, and that just creates a whole host of new challenges for security professionals, right? So maybe a year ago we thought like an employee that was asking OpenAI a question, or Anthropic a question, or they had a Copilot implementation. We were trying to secure the prompts and the deployment of those more like question and answer type queries. Now AI is actually doing the work for us, and I think that's the main difference from a year ago.
Yeah, no, fascinating.
Yeah.
And are you seeing, in terms of the security market, are you seeing more innovation or more noise, or both, would you say?
There's always noise, right? I mean, I think like you walk around this conference and it's hard to differentiate between a lot of vendors, right? But that's why I think it's important to go talk to the market, talk to CISOs, and really understand what they're feeling and what's important to them, right? And so the key themes that we keep hearing are access is really important, right? We want to monitor what's happening in our cloud environments, especially as it relates to AI workloads. And I think there's another challenge that AI adoption poses for companies, which is just how do you, in an agent-first world, how do you ensure that you're compliant and you're doing continuous compliance, right? And so those three categories we're really bullish on, and that's why we've invested in Drata, Upwind, and Oasis most recently.
Are there any areas of the market that you're seeing overlooked at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement in using AI to actually perform a security task, right? There's like a lot of AI red teaming companies. There's a lot of automated SOC companies that are coming out. And I think it's still not clear like who's going to emerge from those categories. But I think this concept of how do we actually employ the models to do the work for us as security professionals, I think is a really interesting concept. We're trying to look for companies that are kind of adopting that model. So we're excited to see what happens there.
Yeah. And I think founders these days, as they're looking to raise money and just looking to build into the market, are definitely challenged with obviously noise, with the funding landscape. What advice would you give to like a first-time founder, for example, someone who doesn't have that experience of building and selling or so on and so forth in today's market? What would be like the 1-2 key things that you would give them?
Yeah, cybersecurity, the fundraising market for cybersecurity is a animal of its own. I would say it's very different than other markets that we operate in. And so I think, we have this saying in Leaders Fund, like you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. And I think that's really true in cybersecurity as well. You're seeing companies raise, $50 million seed rounds. And there is such a thing as overcapitalizing a company. But if you're playing in a space where your 3 or 4 competitors have all raised 50 to 100 and you've raised 5, it's going to be really hard for you to compete. And so, the cost of doing go-to-market properly in this field is very expensive, and you need to be capitalized properly to go and attack an opportunity. And so, for first-time founders in this, entering this field, I think you gotta be able to fight fire with fire from a capital perspective. But I also think like just spending time with customers, really understanding what their pain points are, really understanding where the puck is going, and more than ever being adaptable, because things are changing every week, right? It's like every week there's a new release of a new product or a new model or whatever, and the world changes again. And some things become relevant, some fall out of relevancy, and I think the best founders today are able to move really quickly. They're leveraging these tools internally to develop product as fast as possible. And an investor, when they come and look at a company, is going to want to see that a company has adapted to this new reality, right? So I think that's really important to illustrate. But the truth is, like, great customers, more revenue, more traction is going to be a winning recipe. And really focusing in on like, how do you differentiate? Because there's so much noise in this market right now, and being really clear on and telling a clear story on that, I think is really important.
Yeah. I think I remember we did a podcast maybe 6 or so months ago now with Roger Thornton, who's one of the founders of Ballistic Ventures, and he was saying how he said nobody cares about your product. Yeah. He said, if you're lucky and you've got a really nice mum, she might care about your product. but the buyers, the CISOs, care about their problems and what keeps them up at night. They don't care about the bells and whistles that you've got if it doesn't truly solve a problem that they're facing.
That's right. Yeah, we encourage our early stage companies to just, like, before they've built a lot of product, just go and spend time and embed themselves with CISOs and security teams and really understand what pain points they feel, because they're inundated too, right? I mean, it's like you walk around the floor here and it's like they're just inundated with products to go and buy. So if you really understand what's important to them, that's a great place to start.
Yeah. And very recently, the news with Oasis. Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. Exciting times. Yeah, tell me a little bit about what the thought process was getting involved in the Oasis recent fundraising.
Yeah, well, for us, it always starts with the team, right? Danny and Amit are just exceptional founders. We have this concept in Leaders Fund we call clock speed, which is just, when you're engaging with an entrepreneur in a fundraise process, how quickly are things moving, right? And quickly can mean both response time, but it could also mean how quickly is the business moving. And so every time you speak with the founder, have they made that new hire? Have they closed that cornerstone account? Have they booked another big deal, right? And so I think with Danny and Amit, that was certainly true. They are just hustling and animals, and they're going to win. So it all started there. But we also have been spending a lot of time thinking about the fact that with every new technology, we were just talking about this, with every new technological shift, there is a new cybersecurity platform that emerges, right? And there could be a couple, right? And there's like 1 to 3 companies that kind of really matter in every technological shift. And this next shift is AI, for sure. I think we all agree on that. And in this agent first world, access becomes really important, right? How do you ensure that when you deploy agents, they are given the right responsibilities and privileges, and those are revoked when they need to be, and you understand what's going on, and you have a control plane for agents in your enterprise. And so we've been looking for that company and got introduced to Danny and Amit through Mike at Craft Ventures, and we just fell in love with the story and the product, and really think it could be a massive company. So that got us really excited about it.
Fascinating. I think the identity space is an area that is 100% ripe for disruption. Obviously the more traditional players have been around for quite a while, but there's so many new emerging startups who are coming through, especially in like NHI, who like Oasis have even been in for a couple of years now, and they've started to become the more prevalent player within that space. It's going to be fascinating as that market matures and as the CISOs become more mature to that type of product and the new wave of identity, like the scale of the opportunity within an organization like that, especially as you say, if you've got the right founders in place, which is arguably the most important thing, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's why I was talking about adaptability, right? Because like 3 years ago, NHIs meant something different than they do today. The word agent wasn't part of our vocabulary 3 years ago when this company was started, right? And so NHIs obviously still matter. I think within that definition, now we're bringing in this new concept of agents, right? And I think if you go ask CISOs today, you're getting X million in AI security budget, where's that going to go? I think identity is a key pillar in that. We think securing the cloud is another one, and that's why we're really excited about Upwind too. But we're definitely we definitely feel like identity is a big piece of that.
Yeah. So you set up Leaders Fund 10 years ago. Obviously gone through some amazing investments over the years. How has your like investment perspective and like criteria of when you make your investments changed over that time period through any lessons or experiences that you've had?
That's a great question. This is going to sound obvious, but it took me a while to like really take it to heart, which is, and I think it is even more important in this market, which is just, if you find an exceptional founder, you should do everything it takes to work with that founder. Upwind is a great example of that, right? Where we had backed their previous company, Spot, and that was a great outcome. We sold that to NetApp for close to $500 million back in 2021. And Amiram is just one of those founders that there's an inevitability to what he does. Like you just know this person is going to win. And so when they left NetApp after being there for a couple of years, I went to him and I just said, I don't care what you're doing. We want to be part of it, right? And I think over the years we've gained more conviction in making those types of bets where it's just an exceptional team pointed in the right direction will be able to create great products and great outcome. And so we're indexing more and more and more towards that.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that he does that stands out against other founders that you know? And look, I know obviously we've spoken about generally kind of the criteria of what makes a good founder, but when you think about him specifically, what are those things that come to mind?
I feel like there's this saying in startup land of like, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Amiram is someone who seemingly can sprint a marathon. Like he's, like he's going at this speed over a very long period of time and consistent period of time. And the culture that he's created at the company is a culture of winning and performance. And for some people, that's exciting. For others, it's not. Right? It's an intense environment. But when you're going into the market that Upwind is going into of cloud security and CNAPP, which is the most competitive but also the biggest, that's what it takes to succeed. And so I think that's really probably the biggest thing. And he really cares about his people, right? I think like if you're part of his team, he cares, takes care of you, and expects a lot, but is really focused on taking care of the people that have just contributed and performed, right? So I think that's the key with him.
Yeah, I remember from the conversation I was having with Rinky and Chaz at Upwind a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I was asked Rinky the story of how she got involved with Upwind and became the CISO, and she said, well, first of all, I was a customer, and the founders are just insane.
Yeah.
So I had to get involved. Like it seemed like something. It was either do I go move into another like Fortune 500 CISO role, or do I do something that's so exciting that could be with some of the best founders I've ever known and worked with before.
Yeah.
And you could see that passion as I was speaking to her.
Yeah. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? It's like, oh, that's the level that you need to strive for, right? And so it makes investing in other things pretty tough, honestly, because it's hard to find.
I was gonna say,
it's like, but like even Adam and Troy and Daniel at Drata are the same. It's just like, generally there's a pattern of this type of behavior throughout those founders' lives, right? Like Adam has been excelling and achieving everything that he's done throughout his life. And if you start to ask questions about just some of the exceptional or really hard things that these founders have done throughout their lives, you start to be able to put the picture together and be able to project forward and say, I don't know where this is going to go, but this person is going to be able to figure this out, right? And they have a will to win. As much as we want to sound smart about, this thesis or that thesis, like what it really comes down to in the end is, have you backed the right people?
Yeah.
That's what we.
Yeah. And do you think that's even more prevalent today in this market that we face now, where market is pivoting and shifting almost on a quarterly or monthly basis, almost, isn't it?
It's kind of like the only moats that's left right now, right? It's like the frontier labs are starting to eat a lot of industries, and they're moving up the stack into the application layer, and they're insanely well capitalized, and they're growing faster than any company in the history of company building, right? And so when you're operating in that environment, you have to be nimble and adaptable and move fast, and speed is really a weapon, and again we try and test for that when we're doing diligence on a company and thinking about investing. So it was already important, but it's way more important in this environment.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And looking at Leaders Fund and what the next 12, 24 months of investments look like, taking away the founder and I guess like the criteria of those individuals, what are the trends and areas of security that, I'm sure you're probably going to say AI, but like where specifically are you thinking that you're going to have your eye on for your next few investments, do you think?
Listen, I think this concept of like real time really matters, because not to bring it back to AI, but I think the same types of attacks are happening at way faster speeds, because the paper that Anthropic put out about that cyber attack, I think it was China or some nation state that was the attacker, and a massive percent of the actions that were taken in that attack were taken by a model, an agent, right? And so in that environment, you have to respond faster. And so I think a lot of our investing in cybersecurity, AI side, though AI is making this way more important, is really along that theme of like, how do we move from like static to real time, and really like actual real time, and a lot of that happens in runtime, and that's why we're excited about Upwind. But I think that's definitely a theme of any investment we're going to be making in cybersecurity is gonna be able to hit that.
Yeah, and for a founder, when investment, especially obviously as you're a good founder, you're a attractive proposition to investors like yourself, there is going to be a lot of funding there available. When do you think, or how do you think founders in today's market should think about, one, timing, and then two, like how much capital they're taking in?
I think it depends on the stage, right? I think like seed is very different than Series A, which is very different than Series B. But I think what's consistent across those stages is a founder has a lot of confidence that they can go and raise capital and deploy that capital and be productive with it, right? And achieve something with it. And so we tend to think of markets as like, is this a push or a pull market? And the moment you feel like the market is pulling something out of your hands, I think is a good time to go and raise, whether it be at the seed or the A or the B. I mean, it's just different scales in that, right? But what you feel there is momentum, and like Drata was a really interesting story on that, where I remember we made the investment. They were pre-revenue at the time, and we were like, if this gets to $1 million of ARR in the first year, like we'll be happy. And they over 10x that in the first like 6 months or whatever, and it was just an example of like the market was just pulling that out of their hands at an insane rate. They hit the market at the right time, and so obviously that's an extreme example, but I think when founders start to feel that a customer pulling a product out of your hands is a good time to go and try and pour fuel on the fire. So that would definitely be like the feeling around timing. The size is it really depends, I would say. You can't raise in a vacuum, I would say, in this market. Again, I said this before, but if you're entering a market and your 5 competitors have all raised $15 million, it's going to be hard for you if you go and raise 5. It just is. That's just gravity. It's hard to fight gravity, right? At the same time, I think you can overcapitalize and you can shoot yourself in the foot if you're taking too much money at too high valuations, right? So I think you got to be pragmatic but aggressive, and not fundraise in a vacuum, and understand what's happening in your market.
Yeah. And do you think with the adoption of AI into workflows around like engineering and even like SDRs and these types of roles, where obviously cost optimization is significantly reduced for earlier stage startups and for enterprises as well, but do you think that's going to potentially lead to smaller fundraisers happening, because I guess these organizations don't necessarily need as much cash to be able to scale at the speed that they want to?
Yeah, it's funny. You're seeing that in other industries. Cybersecurity has not seen that impact, I would say. Like it's the one area of technology, to my knowledge, where not much has changed from that perspective. Like they in a pre and post AI era. I think companies are leveraging all of these code generation tools much more, Cloud Code, Codex, etc. And so, by definition, they can be more efficient. But go to market in security is still what it was, right? It's like, you got to go find your buyers. Even if it's not selling to an enterprise, it still feels like enterprise selling, right? So there's no AI that's going to be able to go take a CISO out for dinner, and that's still important in this industry. So, and that's expensive, right? And so for whatever reason, it feels like this is one industry that has been kind of immune to that trend. That could change, but I don't really see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah. And the salaries, for example, of account executives are only getting higher and higher as well. So.
Yeah, that's right. And I also think like there's, in a post-COVID world as well, where everyone went remote and was operating wherever they were operating, being in person really matters, and like showing the effort to go and visit a customer is really important and makes all the difference. And so the companies that are moving the fastest in our portfolio are those and performing the best are those where like it or not, the founders are and the salespeople and the GTM teams are just on planes going to see customers.
Yeah.
And that's especially true in cybersecurity.
Yeah, fascinating. And just to wrap things up, just wanted to go through some quick fire questions, if that's all right.
Let's do it.
I'll throw a couple of curveballs in there to keep you on your toes. RSA, keep it in San Francisco or move it. If move it, where to?
Don't move it to Vegas, please. I spend way too much time in Vegas every year. I think SF's great. I would keep it here. It's a great time of year to be here, and it's working. I don't think we need to change it.
Yeah. Favorite RSA memory?
I just had a good one. I just took a pedicab over here from the Upwind high tide house. So that was pretty fun.
Amazing. Best piece of business advice that you've ever received?
It's all about the people. Again, I keep coming back to that, but and careers are long. Someone who and life is long. Someone who you meet that maybe a junior person somewhere, or maybe just starting out in their career in 10 years can be a really important person to know, or achieve great things. And so I think just treating everyone with respect, no matter who they are, what title, what status they are, I think is just a good practice.
Yeah. If we were sitting here in a year's time, these exact chairs having this conversation, what do you think will have changed in the industry?
It's so hard to predict. I mean, I could make a prediction and I could guarantee you that I'd be wrong, right? I mean, it's like if I were sitting here a year ago and telling you that I'm going to have an always-on assistant that can actually go and do things for me in my day-to-day life, I would have thought you were bullshitting me. So I think the trend is going to be the same. It's really going to depend on the new capabilities that the labs are coming out with, and the new applications. But the rate of change is so great and the curve is so steep that I think in a year from now, we'll be looking back at this year and saying like, wow, so much has changed. So I'm going to abstain from making a prediction because I'll be wrong.
Yeah, we'll end up clipping it. And then
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, no, fantastic. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Hopefully let's do it again in 2027 and we'll see where I go from there.
Appreciate you having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. Cheers.